and you've probably seen her everywhere giving phenomenal information about helping parents to really plan for this very big milestone in their child's life without going broke. She's been on CNBC, Good Morning America. She's been featured in Forbes, Fortune, Money, USA Today, and many, many others. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, Julie. It's great to be here with you today.
So today our topic is leading with authenticity and service. And I love this because, you know, as COO of Gift of College, we're seeing you make news headlines everywhere, telling your brand story across communications platforms. And the one thing that really shines for me, that stands out, is your authenticity and how accessible you make very complex information. Did developing your skills in doing this as a media spokesperson kind of happen organically?
That's a great question. I would say these traits and skills have happened organically. You and I joked about my only true connection to public relations are my initials.
That's right, PR. I love that.
PR. No, I've had no formal training. I would say as a child, I always loved to write. I loved to speak. And I even loved to advocate. I was my high school newspaper editor,
Amazing.
a commencement speaker, active in the student government.
So it all started early for you.
It all started early. And I really always seem to have the gift of making the complex understandable, and a strong desire from early on to really share valuable information with others who would find it useful.
You like helping people.
I like helping people. I really wanted to be a broadcast journalist. That's a story for another day. We know that didn't happen. But I was really determined to, be of service with information. And I think those really God-given gifts coupled with this topic that I'm so passionate about really, really helps those communication and leadership skills to shine, the ones that you were observing.
And so, what aspects of your backstory, you just mentioned your childhood and how you love to tell stories and help people and share information, as a leader, even as a young kid. How do you think that impacted the way you are today as a leader and your communication style in general?
Well, I got a lot of leadership experience very early on in my childhood due to some complexities in my family, which was headed by a single mom. I think having to step into a leadership role as a young person really helped me to develop problem-solving skills, advocacy skills. In many cases, I had to advocate for my loved ones and for myself. I think I have a brother who's developmentally disabled.
Yes.
I became very in tune with his needs and the needs of his friends and the way to best relate to them. And always having been interested in communication, I think I became all the more crystal clear when I was talking about topics of interest. And I also learned to speak from the heart and to listen intently.
That is such a big part of it. Just the way you are. I think you had also mentioned to me how you started out in big corporate and then you moved to Gift of College, which is a much smaller entity. How did that affect your leadership style too? And, the way, the honest, authentic way that you are as a leader?
Well, first of all, working in big corporate helped me tremendously. As you know, Julie, there's a tremendous amount of valuable leadership.
Oh, it's incredible. And just the whole learning about business and a specific kind of business in that environment is phenomenal.
Absolutely. So valuable leadership and management training, some great managers along the way and mentors really helped me tremendously. And that foundation that I built in big corporate helps me to this day. I leverage it all the time. But moving to a smaller entity, I feel I've become less constrained, more able to bring more of my true self to the table. Oftentimes in larger corporations, we know there's a hierarchy. We know that there are, rules and protocol to follow. I certainly wasn't speaking to the press, not on a regular basis in big corporate. There are others who were in line to do that most appropriately. But being in a smaller corporation, it's all hands on deck. So you really do need to step up, lead really at all times. There are fewer people involved, and to shine forth and bring your full self to the table. I think it's expected of me, and I think it is absolutely essential. And there really is a feeling of freedom, and as I said, less constraints when you are in a smaller, more nimble organization.
Do you think that that's also what led you to adopt more transparency about who you are as a leader?
I think so. I mean, I really, really believe that I have an obligation, particularly with the kind of work I do, to be more transparent, to be transparent about my backstory. I didn't just become who I am today out of nowhere. I had life circumstances, challenges getting to college, as I've told you, challenges repaying student loan debt. All of those experiences have shaped who I am. And I do believe helped me to become more transparent. And I know in my present job, things I tried to hide through the years, sometimes working in larger organizations, such as my need to be, caregiving my mom in her older age, or concerns about my brother, really didn't share those kinds of things at work. I didn't want to be viewed as distracted in any way. But in a smaller organization, I can be more open about that. And I feel that being more authentic, being more open with what's happening in my life, because our lives at home are really very much involved with our lives in the office as well.
Well, especially now. I mean, the pandemic proved that for everybody, right?
It's so true. And I feel that it's helped others to open up as well, others in my organization and others in other roles. And we need those diverse voices, Julie. We need people who come from maybe economically stressed backgrounds. That's a form of diversity. People who understand disability, people who have had different circumstances. If you're leaving that at the door, you're really not bringing your full value into a professional setting. And I think that I've realized that now in these later years and working in a smaller firm.
I think that one of the things that, I'm a publicist, so I notice these things. One of the things that you project so strongly is your credibility, because you're able to break down a very complex topic that is so emotionally fraught for many, many people. And I think that when leaders can establish themselves as credible and authentic, it has like a radiating effect on everyone around them, right? I think that it makes everybody kind of relax a little bit, and kind of role models for others how they can just show up and really be their authentic selves. It's okay if they're dealing with stress at home, or, picking up a child after work, or dealing with an elderly parent. Whereas before, years ago, it used to be that you had to kind of cover that up and just kind of, pedal to the metal, show up for work as if, everything, your personal life did kind of matter. But I think, and I'd like to know your feeling about this, how does credibility affect your internal team in terms of their motivation and the way they do their work, their jobs?
Well, I think credibility and integrity are everything. And I hope that my credibility, helps others on my team and others in the outside world really have confidence in my perspective. I think that people internally and externally lean on me as a thought partner. And that is such an honor to have people turn to you for your perspective, with them believing in your years of experience, your
Absolutely.
expertise, your willingness to ask the hard questions and to formulate perspectives that may be slightly different than others. I hope that my credibility and my ability to really be seen as a thought leader and someone of integrity gives others the inspiration to do the same. I think as women sometimes we hesitate or hold back on being or wanting to be thought of as subject matter experts. We doubt ourselves far too often. Men and women suffer from the imposter syndrome, but I think more so with
Oh, I think it's absolutely pervasive.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I hope that my really owning my subject matter expertise and my comfort level with really being seen as a credible source of information gives other women and men the inspiration to do the same in whatever their areas of focus and passion are.
Yeah, no, that I think that's great. You're as a media spokesperson, how do you not come across as selling, as very self-promotional? And like, what's the difference between what you do, sharing information and selling?
Well, I feel that you know, coming across as someone who's selling in the media will surely not get you additional interviews in the
No.
future. I really believe that those who turn to me for information are really looking for me to lead with something of value, which is what I always do. I'm never selling. Certainly in the course of media interviews, they do mention where I work, that I'm the chief operating officer at Gift of College. Oftentimes my book gets mentioned, Route 529, A Parent's Guide to Saving for College. Those things come up in the course of an interview or in introducing me, as you did today. But I'm never talking about my book. I'm not talking about Gift of College. I'm leading with valuable information. And I try to stay in tune with, again, back to those listening skills that I developed as a young child. I try to stay in tune with what the individual is asking of me and what I perceive they need to know. And when leading with valuable information, valuable insights, when being generous with your time and talent, everything else falls into place. I find, I mean, it's really about developing relationships versus trying to sell something in a transactional way.
Right.
There's never, ever, as far as I can recall, sales involved, certainly in a media interview.
Yeah, and I think that's how you lead with service, right? You're helping people, you're providing information and not necessarily trying to sell them, directly sell them on something, and add that whole pressure to the equation. You're really just sharing what you know.
Absolutely. And even with my passion for 529 plans, which I really do feel very strongly about the importance of these plans and the value that they can add to the lives of American families, even at that, what I say is what's important is that people get started with some sort of planning for higher
Yeah.
education. Even if it's not that, just get started versus doing nothing and worrying about it.
Yeah, right. Like just right. Put it on your radar, and try to minimize the stress around it by planning in advance
That's right.
instead of avoidance.
Absolutely.
Um, um, what what would you tell women, other female leaders who are rising up the ranks? They may struggle to bring their authentic self into a professional setting. Um, what what would advice would you have for them? How can they get more comfortable in doing that?
Well, first of all, I'd suggest reflecting on what is absolutely unique about you, because therein lies some incredible value. So, knowing what it is that you have in the first place, I think is extremely helpful, and what it is you may be guarded about. I think there's some insights in recognizing what those things are. Certainly, if you're thinking of switching to a more authentic way of operating within your existing organization, I think you need to know your audience. I think that it would be inappropriate to suggest that everybody just suddenly, start becoming more authentic if they haven't been that way in the past, particularly with respect to maybe revealing some aspects of yourself that you haven't
Right.
shared. So
Right.
know your audience, know your value.
Right. Be savvy about it.
Be savvy about
Yeah.
it. If you're not sure, joining organizations like the one where you and I have gotten so well acquainted, the Quorum Initiative. I can't say enough about this organization, and I'm sure there are other types like it. But join an organization like the Quorum Initiative and get to know like-minded women where you can talk in a safe space about the value you add. I would also say to women who are considering sort of some sort of shift is to really reflect on the cost of abandoning who you truly are for 7, 8, 10 hours a day. Think about the cost associated with that, because there is a cost. And also think about the value you may be denying others by sharing your true worth. I do believe firmly, by my opening up a bit about my background, about my past, about my challenges, I think that has helped others to see themselves on a path to whatever they are seeking as well, to see themselves as capable of evolving in the way that I have. So don't hold back. Get to know others, join organizations like the one that we're part of, and really reflect on what you have to offer and what the cost is of holding it back.
Now, initially, making that kind of a shift could feel a little scary, right? And a little cringeworthy, right? But I'm here to tell you that it's worth it, because if you are in an organization with other women, and they do set it up as a safe space to talk, like Quorum, the value is just incredible. And you will learn so much, and you will increase your feelings of self-esteem and confidence, and you're just going to gain a lot of knowledge. You're going to feel empowered. So taking that first step toward opening up and being your real self with others, it may at first feel weird, but once you get used to it, it's quite magical.
I would agree with that, Julie. Well said.
Anyway, I can't believe we're at time, but thank you so much for being here today. For everyone who wants to connect with Patricia, reach out to her on LinkedIn. Check out Gift of College. We will be back again with another installment of Quorum Live. And if you like what you've been seeing on this series, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And I'll see you next time.